Mr. Cohen. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Project 2025, which we know is the constitution of this administration, although never read by President Trump, nor has he read the Bible or any other major publications or books in his life, proposes that we eliminate all federal support for transit. Mr. Reagan, how would that affect most major cities in the United States, most people that depend on public ridership, poor people that don't have cars, that need to get to work, get to a hospital, get to the grocery store, get to the drugstore? How would that affect them and affect their lives?
I think it would grind transportation in major cities to a halt. I think people would be unable to get to their place of employment. They would be unable to get to hospitals, grocery stores, to all the things that people like living in a city for.
So it would be like most of the other things that Project 2025 is about, giving to the rich, the powerful, the ones with much money, and give them tax breaks and not do anything for the poor people that are paying a burden right now.
It would certainly have a disproportionate harm on people who rely on public transit, or people at lower income, communities of color. There are a lot of areas who rely more disproportionately on public transit who would be hurt the most by this type of decision.
Mr. Ford, how would this affect folks in Jacksonville?
It would be devastating to Jacksonville. On a daily basis, we carry nearly 23,000 riders on a daily basis. Vast majority are individuals who are going to work to support our community, to support our economy, and the healthcare industry, for example. We noticed that during COVID-19, the nurses and support personnel that were supporting our medical facilities. So any suspension of federal funding for public transit would be devastating to Jacksonville and our industry overall, as well as the private sector that actually benefits from the investment that comes from the federal government.
Mr. Ford, you've worked in other cities, I presume?
Yes, sir.
And what are some of those cities?
I started my career with the New York City Transit System as a train conductor, then worked for the BART system in the Bay Area, joined the MARTA system after the 96 Olympics, served as their CEO, then served as the CEO of the San Francisco MTA, and now I have the honor of serving in Jacksonville, Florida.
You've had quite a career. Congratulations. Come a long way. All those cities would be affected as well, New York especially, I guess, and San Francisco as well.
It would be devastating to those cities. They would not survive that type of funding loss.
Ms. Klein, you represent rural areas. You are a rural area, but would that not hurt your area in other rural areas as well?
Thank you. And yes, it would be. It would be devastating for us because we already operate on a shoestring, so lack of funding would definitely make a difference to the many people that we serve.
Thank you, Ms. Klein. I've sponsored with Congressman Hank Johnson of Atlanta the Stronger Communities Through Better Transit Act. That would allow funds to go to operating expenses as well as capital expenses. Mr. Reagan, would that be helpful to most major city transportation authorities?
It would, yes, it would be very helpful. Think about also what that operating expense is, what that assistance allows people to do. There's been a lot of talk about safety here, for example. Most of our safety initiatives, whether it be camera systems, transit ambassadors are a really important part of that, who are eyes and ears on the ground and also help with fare collection, whether it be, security personnel in those areas. So by not allowing the flexibility, by dedicating most of it towards capital expenses and not providing operating assistance, we are hindering a lot of the things that allow our transit systems to grow, to thrive, to meet the needs of our communities, and to meet the expectations of the riders.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ford, would you have anything to add to that?
Thank you for the question. I just want to reiterate the importance of federal funding, not just to move the people in our communities, but also the downstream impact it would have to the private sector, and particularly in communities that are supplying parts for our transit systems, our rolling stock, our infrastructure. While they may not have a major transit system in their community, they may have a major manufacturing facility that is supported and providing jobs to people in their community, leaders in their community.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Feigenbaum, Reason Magazine and Reason Foundation prides himself on supporting the rule of law. How have you seen the rule of law being damaged and potentially destroyed by this administration?
Well, I think it's maybe good that I'm out of time because that's a
You're
very
not at a time, you can respond.
That's a challenging question. I think that obligations, let's talk transportation because that's what I know best. Obligations from a previous transportation bill
Now, let's talk rule of law.
well, I don't think anyone is above the Constitution or the rule of law. So all laws should be followed, all policies should be followed, period.
Time has expired.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
The gentleman yields. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Chairman and Ranking Member Norton, for holding this hearing today, and thank you to our witnesses for their time and testimony and insight. I appreciate that very much. I represent a very rural area. Some of my constituents utilize public transportation to commute to work, doctor's appointments, school, or to visit family, but very few. I'm excited to work with the members of this committee to ensure our transit systems are safe and efficiently utilize federal funding. Essentially, we have the privilege in my district of paying for our public transport with our tax dollars. We just, by and large, don't get any of the benefit. So I do encourage Secretary Duffy to continue taking a close look at how these cities are funded.